Hi, this is the video that I promised you that when I look back on the Carnegie Medal shortlist and try and pick the winner, and I'll probably have as much joy in doing that as I did of picking it last year. So the 8 books on the shortlist, we've got October by Katya Balon, and this is about a young girl who lives in the wild with her father, and when he has an accident she moves to London with her mother, and it's her coming to terms with a new way of life and finding her way because she's never been to school, she's never interacted with other children, so it's finding her way in life and story building, because it's a lot about stories as well, and how every story, there is a story in everyone, but maybe the ending isn't always the ending you expect. The next one is Guard Your Heart by Devin, and this is set in Northern Ireland 18 years after the peace agreement was signed, and you've got 2 teenagers, Aidan and Iona. Aidan is Catholic, Iona is Protestant, and it's their story of their coming together and the way that the legacy of the Troubles is still impinging on life, and it's a story of sort of coming to terms with everything. The next one is When the Sky Falls by Earl, and this is set in World War II, and it's about an evacuee who moves to London, and whereas evacuees normally go from London to the country, this one's come from the country to London because his grandmother can't cope with him anymore, so she sends him to a friend who's a zookeeper who's trying to keep the zoo going, and he's a very angry young lad and she's a woman who takes no nonsense, and you've got beautifully realistic depictions of the Blitz, and it's a story of love, loss, redemption. Next one is a selection of short stories, Everyone Dies Famous in a Small Town by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock, and these are stories of teenagers in small rural towns down the Western America, and the stories all interlink. And you've got rage, you've got love, you've got all sorts of things in these stories. Number 5 on the list I've got is The Crossing by Manjit Mann, who won the Shadow Jury Award last year. And again, it's a novel in verse, and it's a story of Natalie, who's lost her mother, and Sammy, who's trying to get from Eritrea to the UK, and it's a story of these 2 teenagers, the refugee and the young girl in London, the way they connect, and it's a story that's heartbreaking and powerful. Then we've got Tsunami Girl by Julian Sedgwick, which is a mixture of prose and manga, and it tells the story of Yuki, who is caught up in an earthquake and tsunami in Japan, and it's almost a coming of age story for her as she has to find closure for all the events that happened to her. Then we move on to the Slave Rebellion in 1670, and it's The Kane Warriors by Alex Weitel, and this is the story of 14-year-old Moa, who is part of Taki's Rebellion, the first slave rebellion in Jamaica, and it's the story told from his perspective. And the final one of the 8 is Punch in the Air by Ibi Zeboy and Yusuf Salam, and this again is it's another novel in verse. So on the shortlist we've got 2 novels in verse, and it's about the criminal system in America and a young lad who is imprisoned for something that he didn't do. So those are the 8. Last year the book that won was a collection of short stories that had a sort of intermingling. So would they do that again this time? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, for me, I think it will probably be one of the two verse poems. It'll either be the one, I think it might be the one about the refugee, the crossing. I think that might be the winner. But then again, I could be wrong. I was wrong last year. It's very difficult because I never know whether they are going for something that is prevalent at the time, whether they're looking at issues or whether they're looking at storytelling. I don't know. I think that Manjit Man, The Crossing, that is the one I'm going for. I did have a look at Goodreads to see what Goodreads were doing. And the one that comes out top in all Goodreads ratings, it's When the Sky Falls by Earl, the story about the angry boy and the zookeeper. And that has got the highest Goodreads rating. So that's the one that Goodreads would choose as the winner. So it comes, I think it's May, sometime middle of May that these winners are announced. So I'll have to come back then and we can see how wrong I was. So happy reading, take care, and bye.